$1,000 into these two stocks can surpass your full-time job. I'm not a financial advisor, but Taiwan Semiconductor, ticker symbol TSM, has been grinding up day after day. It shows no sign of stopping at a time when a lot of other semi names had little bounces. Nvidia had a nice bounce, but then it came back down. So TSM seems to be grinding up. That's evidence of sustained buying. Company does a lot, $33 billion in revenue in Q3. So institution can't buy all the TSM they want in one day. So it takes day after day. So what we can do is we can hop on that trend and we'll look at the chart to see what I'm talking about. There's another company, CoreWeave, ticker symbol CRWV, has partnerships with Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, IBM, 100% revenue growth year over year. They provide the GPU compute layer. So they're not making GPUs. They're not using GPUs per se for AI answers like ChatGPT is. They're sort of in the middle where they connect it all and make it a usable platform for AI engineers, AI researchers, the people who build the software that we know and love, like ChatGPT. The company is CoreWeave. They have a lot of capital expenditures. They take on a lot of debt, but they seem to be perking up as well. So let's look at these two stocks right now.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 All right, so this is TSM, and this is that grinding activity I'm talking about. If we look at this buy here, we had a big move. It's unusual to hang up here after a move. We did give back a little the last couple of days, but we're still up 5% just about from the very bottom lows here. So pretty awesome. Maybe in anticipation of the rate cut, the FOMC meeting is tomorrow, Wednesday, December 10th. So it's not always a great idea to anticipate, what's going to happen, but you're basically making a bet on what people don't know about what's going to happen. And I don't think you know, and I don't know anything that other people don't know about this rate cut. So I think the chance is like written as 85% or something on the Fed website. We can look at that, but this is not a, macro magician channel. We're trying to pick individual stocks, because if we knew how to pick, which way the market would go, we would just look at that every day. I don't know anyone who does that consistently or even relatively profitably. What people are good at is looking at individual stocks that seem to be setting up at a time when, other semi stocks, Nvidia, sure, it had a nice little bounce, but it sold right off. It's still choppy. So you can look at other semi stocks in this sector. Here's an ETF to look at. It's not SHM at all, actually. It's SMH, and it's grinding up, but when you look at the individual companies that make that up, AMD is kind of like a wedge, which these never really seem to go. If you look at ONDS, a recent wedge, it's holding in there, but it's only interesting once it really builds out a flag. And once you look at a chart like this, it's like, great, you bought it here, or you bought it here, you stop out, you bought it here, you stop out. So what's preferred is a clean flag. Frog is one company that did break out. We talked about on this channel recently. So that's great. They don't always work, but what it does is it provides you very small risk to make a big move the upside direction. Or if not a clean flag, then what you kind of want to look for is some type of earnings pivot opportunity, high volume close here, a move up with, above an earnings level. A more obvious one would be something like Guardian Health, which did move up 25%, coming back a little bit. All these sort of pharma names, PPH is the pharma ETF selling off, the healthcare ETF XLV selling off a little bit. Energy is doing okay. If we look at some of the energy names, PARR selling off some, Dyno selling off some. ZOM is the one to look at for, the sector as a whole. It's one of the bigger ones, Exxon and Chevron, and they're fine. Chevron's not fine, but if you were looking at ZOM, it's fine. It's holding in there. It could go in about a week or so, but none of these look like they're going to go, tomorrow. And if you look at some of these, Devon Energy, still building out a flag, not sure how exciting that is. TAL gave back some, and New Era actually sold off Next Era. So energy's not exactly shaping up how it could have shaped up. Pharmaceuticals and medical companies, not as exciting as they might have been. MedP selling off. And, some of these smaller biotechs are still hanging in there, but you do have that risk of a Unicure or an IntelliTherapeutics where they can just give it all back. And when I say give it all back, I really mean give it all back. So you got to be careful with that. Meta bounce was working, came back a little bit. Amazon coming back a little bit. These big tech names are, always worth looking at. A little higher low for Microsoft, but not something that's shaping up right now necessarily. Google had a shape up here, had a flag shaping up here. It's close to having another one, but at some point, you just have to wait. And Tesla, unsurprisingly, a little bit of a pullback, a couple days ago with all of this resistance here. So hopefully we can build something out here and then have a move to the upside, but it's not there yet. And then the robotics names as well, holding in here, RR and Serve, some higher lows, some moves recently on that little, well, it's not little, we'll see if it comes out, executive order rumor. iRobot, the low price one. PDYN didn't really do anything soon, and BBAI also in that AI robotics category. The executive order was for robotics, and previously there had been an executive order for drones. So Unusual Machines, which is having a little bit of a bounce here, but not super interesting. RCAT as well in that category of former speculation names that pulled back a lot, sort of holding up. And the main one, of course, Ondas, ONDS, shaping up the best. So those are in the conversation. They did have an executive order for drones back in April. So the executive orders definitely matter. But at the same time, you do want to look at sentiment. And rare earth sentiment did have a little bit of a jump. USAR, MP materials probably looking the best, but still going sideways. So all of these names that were speculation names, the quantum names, little bounces as well. They're all in the conversation, but you just have to pick the ones that have higher lows, in my opinion, rather than that are just going sideways. So for that reason, people have been looking at, this Bitcoin miner turned data center compute. So Iron is one of the laggards, and it's still holding in there. You see it does not have a higher low. But if you look at a company like Cypher, this has been really interesting. Building up this flag here. We'll see if it just keeps, having these tight days, which give risk to reward opportunities that are favorable. Of course, it's difficult if you do buy the breakout and then you have to stop out. But, maybe you get chopped out a couple times, lose $1 a share each time, a couple dollars a share. And then suddenly you get that, $5, $6, $7 a share or more. So those names are definitely shaping up. The AI compute names, Wolf, one of the stronger ones as well. TeraWolf. Mar and Riot were the original Bitcoin miners. Those ones haven't really had much buying interest. Core is also in the conversation related to Core. We've actually finally seeing some upwards motion after that sell-off when they had that vote saying they were not going to be acquired by CoreWeave. So CoreWeave, the namesake of this video, is having a little bit of a bounce and holding here. So what it's doing right now is offering a pretty favorable spot over this 89.2. So you risk 5 cents, look for $5 up to 95, and that $100 psychological level. It sold off significantly. The earnings were better than expected on that earnings per share, but still a loss. So we can take a look at that. TSM as well, earnings sold off a little bit, even though they actually beat. And all these companies that are big, and again, TSM with 30 billions of revenue, sold off over the past month because the market sold off. They are the market. TSM is, again, Taiwan Semi, not to be confused with Tower Semi, which has been shaping up pretty awesomely, actually. And speaking of names that have done something like this, the networking names are doing pretty well. AAOI had a move, as well as Coherent, which has been staying up here, light up as well. The ones that haven't gone yet that are interesting to keep an eye on is Lumentum, which sold off a little bit. This is a pretty big move. It doesn't look like it, but that's 20%. So keep an eye on those. And then the memory names as well showing strength. So Mu coming up to a favorable level. SanDisk still being trouble for shorts. It had this incredible move. It's not surprising people might have shorted in here. And then Western Digital as well as Seagate holding in there super well. Someone had rumored that Sam Altman had bought not all of, but a ton of memory, and without, near-term plans to use it or actual use of it. So who knows if that's true, but they certainly are acting like there's been a ton of demand. I don't think out of all these names you necessarily want to look at these right now. I do think something that's shaping up to a level. So for TSM, this level right here is important, 309 and then 317 this high. So if you find a spot to get in, that's great. Over a high that's even closer, 304. So you buy at 305, risk 304.50. Risk 50 cents, maybe $1 to get $10. This could totally go up to 315. So you can sell out half and then trail the rest on, say, a 5-day moving average, like this pink line. I guess you could say that's not pink. That might be salmon or whatever. And, maybe it comes back. You have to sell out, but maybe it holds and you're able to get 10, 15%. So that's the idea with TSM. CoreWeave, similar idea as far as trailing with that pink line. Or if it really goes, you can wait for this blue line, a 10-day smooth, simple, S stands for simple, moving average, which is going to be a little slower. So on the upside, over here, it's kind of the idea is you say you bought here and you sell out half with a 10% move to the upside. The blue line doesn't catch up until here. Maybe you have to sell out the other half or up here. So on average, your sells are up here and you got like 20, 25%, which is a pretty big move on a $500,000 account. Using a 10% position, 25% would be a quarter of 50,000, which is 12.5K, which is a solid gain for that account undeniably. So those are two ideas. And then as far as big picture stuff, gold is holding in here sideways. Silver, kind of similar. It had a little bit crazier of a run today and then forming the shelf. So you can look at AG for that. I don't know how many people caught this. The silver names themselves weren't that interesting. It was really just the futures, which is not really what we focus on or that you would be ready to play. The gold ETF, looks like all these other ones. GFI or KGC is the biggest gold miner. They're mainly South Africa based, NEMAEM. So Ashanti, I don't know if any of these are that interesting right now. And then we talked about energy a little bit, oil selling off. That's not that interesting either. So bouncing around the market, there's not a ton of super exciting activity. I know this was sort of a whirlwind tour rather than a deep dive on CoreWeave or on TSM, but frankly, CoreWeave has been a little bit choppy in the past. This was annoying here. This was annoying here. And so shaping up with it, you know, this, you're going to want a tight leash on this because they do have a lot of debt. And when companies have a lot of debt, they can make highly leveraged moves. 300%. I mean, this is an IPO move, so it's not totally related to the debt, but same idea. And then TSM coming up to important level is the idea there. So nothing super fundamental there. Those are two ideas. If you like those, hit that like button. You'll get more. And if you want a free course on how to find the next NVIDIA without gambling on startups, hit that subscribe. I'll post that in the YouTube posts once a month. If you want to join the Discord, try that trial out. You'll see those testimonials. Head over to stockscommunity.com.
Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.